Everything looking good. All right. Where is my focus? Alafia, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Isefa, and in this video today, we will be discussing, or I will be discussing. Let me back up. Make sure y'all can actually see me. Okay, I think that looks good. But in this video today, we will be discussing receiving your hand of Ifa and what this means for your spiritual journey and development, as well as I will be touching on the Ori and your head Orisha. Now, I do have pages worth of notes to go through. I promise I do know this information, but I just love my notes because they keep me secure and on track with what I want to talk about. So I'll be breaking this down into three parts. The first being what is the hand of Ifa and what happens during that ceremony, as well as who should receive their hand of Ifa and what are some next steps in this journey if you're interested in engaging the tradition of Ifa, known as Isefa. So, and I'll also mix in the Ori and head Orisha stuff as I go on. Before I get started, I do want to provide a major update. I will be going to Nigeria in February of 2025 to initiate myself. And I'm just so excited to take that next step in my personal journey. I'm very passionate about this work. I take it serious. I absolutely love studying this tradition and teaching what I can. And just this ancient esoteric knowledge is truly changed my life. And I want to make this information accessible to the Black American community in particular. My videos are for everyone, but I specifically want to make this information accessible to my ethnic group, my community. And I really want to help us to connect with our ancestral traditions so that we can be reminded of who we are and just the amount of power and who we are, because it really does get so deep. So all that to say, I will be documenting my before, during, and after in Nigeria. And I really look forward to sharing more and eventually being able to be a competent Babalawo myself that can be hands-on and really provide those spiritual services and guidance. So if you want to support the good that I'm trying to do and trying to bring to the community, please like this video, comment, subscribe, of course, share the video. And I've also created a Cash App for the channel if you feel called to support me in that way, and that is in the subscription. Okay, and quick thing too, I'll be going to Brazil for my 25th birthday, and I plan to document that experience through the lens of Afro-Brazilian culture and specifically their connection to the Orisha, Candomblé, and Ifa practitioners out there. So I'm in the process of trying to connect with different Ifa practitioners out there so they can, show me things and I can document it for you guys. So let's go ahead and get started. So what is the hand of Ifa and what happens during the ceremony? So, sorry, let me get some water real quick, because my throat is kind of dry. I've been traveling lately and I'm kind of getting over a little cold. But so what is the hand of Ifa and what happens during the ceremony? So the hand of Ifa, also known as the Isefa in Yoruba, which is an Isheshe, which is the traditional practice that comes from the Yoruba tribe of Nigeria. You may also hear terms like mano de orula, which is Spanish for hand of Ifa if you're practicing Cuban lukumi, or you might hear different terms throughout the diaspora and the different diasporic variations of Ifa. But it's called Isefa, and what this is that it's a 3-day ceremony that can be condensed into a single day that brings you closer to your Ori, and it opens up a portal for divine assistance on your journey. And Isefa, for some of us, if you're called to do so, it will serve as a precursor to Itefa, which is full Ifa initiation. Again, if that's your calling. So what all these things I'm throwing out, what do they mean? So let's first start with the Ori. Now, Ori is going to be the first and most important aspect of this tradition to familiarize yourself with because of how foundational it is to the practice. Now, you cannot receive any type of divine assistance from the Orisha without going through your Ori. Again, or maybe not again, but if you look at the word Orisha, it derives from the word Ori, and that's a whole other, the etymology and all that is a whole other video in itself. Side note, I do have a video where I detail some different Ifa vocabulary. I'll link it to this video. Check that out if you're interested. But yeah, so you cannot receive any type of divine assistance from the Orisha without going through the Ori first. And you really can't even properly work with your ancestors or manifest anything if you're not in alignment with your Ori. So the Ori is extremely, extremely important. And I cannot emphasize that enough. So if there is interest, I can definitely make a video on how to appease and work with your Ori, and different things that you can do as a non-initiate to keep yourself in alignment. So let me know if you're interested in that. But so what is your Ori? So I've established the importance of it, but what actually is it? So your Ori is essentially your divine essence. So let me continue in alignment with my notes. So the Ori is that, it's that higher God self that you're always connected to. Some people may call it your oversoul. And to illustrate this for you practically, if you were to strip yourself of your race, your gender, your religion, and any of your political beliefs, your accomplishments in life, and just any other type of orientations of identity, however you identify in all these different ways, if you were to strip yourself of all of those different adjectives, what's left is the real you. That is your true essence that will follow you across lifetimes, and that is the Ori. So I hope that kind of makes sense. So the Ori has different parts to it. So for example, we have and Ori translates to head. So we have the literal physical head, which in Yoruba cosmology, this is the most important part of the body because again, it's spiritually foundational. So we have the physical Ori, and I talk about this in my vocabulary video. We also have the Ori Inu, which is our inner head, and this connects to our solar plexus chakra. It connects to intuition, gut feelings, ancestral messages, dreams, and ancestral messages through dreams. We all get that through the Ori Inu, and it also connects to the importance of diet and things like that. But that is also a whole other video within itself. And then we also have the Ipanri, which is the higher self. That is the part of us that remains within heaven, or which is also known as Orun. And when we incarnate into these bodies, we're only taking a portion of our Ashe, which Ashe is energy. Ashe is the ability to manifest and to make things happen. Ashe is in everything and in everyone. It contains Ashe. But when we incarnate into these bodies and we come down from heaven, we only take a portion of our Ashe into these physical vessels to then carry out our mission and live out our destiny. So the remainder of our Ashe is held with our Inpari, my bad, that is in the heavens. So that is why it is so important to get in alignment with that, because you're in alignment with your most divine self, your most divine nature, and your most divine purpose. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of Ori and just learning about it. And specifically when you get your Isefa, you're actually strengthening the connection to your Ori Inu, which then allows you to strengthen that connection to your Ipanri. So that's just a little bit about Ori. Now, our Ori is there to support us in our journey and living out our destiny. And so getting your hand of Ifa allows you to align yourself with the Ire of your destiny. And Ire is defined in Yoruba as good fortune. So these are things like good health, wealth, prosperity, protection, and divine assistance, and so forth. So getting your hand of Ifa consecrates that for you, and it allows for your Ori to better support you and facilitate blessings in your life that you're meant to have. So how exactly is this all done through receiving your hand of Ifa? So the Isefa can be done either virtually or in person by a Babalawo. Unlike your Itefa, which is full Ifa initiation, that's something that has to be done in person. But this will be done over 3 days traditionally. And the first day, there will be different spiritual appeasements to your ancestors. Eshu, which is the Orisha of opening roads, the Orisha of communication. You actually can't get to any of the other Orisha without going through Eshu. And I'll get to that in a little bit as well. But yeah, so day one is going to be different spiritual appeasements to your ancestors. Eshu, your Egbe, which Egbe is another video. It's like every concept within Ifa is so full of depth that it can literally be a video on its own. But your Egbe is your spiritual companions, or like your spiritual family within the heavens. And there's different Egbe groups. So you have like Egbe Iyalode, Egbe Baale, and they all have different characteristics, and they play a huge, huge part in the quality of our lives here on earth. But that's another video. But again, so spiritual appeasements to your ancestors, Eshu, Egbe, Ori, Ifa, and any other appeasements that need to be made that have been determined via divination. So that's going to be day one. Day two is going to be a rest and reflection day. And this is going to be the day where you'll learn about Obi divination, which I'll go over that as well in a second. And you'll do any outstanding work from the first day of the ceremony would be completed on day two. Now, day three, which in my opinion is the most exciting day of the ceremony, this is where you're going to get your Odu, an insight into your destiny. You'll learn your taboos, you'll receive a name, you get your Ifa Ide, which I have on here. It's the green and brown bracelet. This is an Obatala one, but that's another topic. And you'll also receive your Ifa Ileke, which I have here, as well as your first set of Ikin, and a vessel to hold those Ikin in, which is your Ifa. I'll go over that in a second as well. And you should also receive an Eshu and then any other Orisha that may have been prescribed to you via divination. So let me kind of like break all of that down. So starting with the Odu and the insight into your destiny. Now, when we're born, we're all born with a Odu, which is a sign that details our destiny. It details our journey in life, what we're here to do, the type of profession that we should engage, the type of partner that we should be with, colors that we shouldn't wear, foods that we shouldn't eat. It's your divine soul contract is contained in the Odu that you were born with. Now, when you go and you receive your hand of Ifa, you'll get insight into what that is, but you don't get the full scope. If you want the full scope, you would have to initiate into Ifa, and you receive what's called an Ita. Now, Ita, that is your divine soul contract, which is going to detail all those things that I mentioned, your taboos, and all of that. But essentially, the Odu that you receive during your Isefa is going to tell you where you are at your current point in life in relation to what your destiny is. And it's going to give you certain guidance to then align you with your destiny and the array of your destiny. And I hope that's making sense. So at this point, when you receive the Odu, this is when you would also learn who your head Orisha is. Now, this can be kind of tricky because, I mean, when you go to your routine dafas and you get divinations done by a Babalawo, you're always going to receive, your Odu, and there's going to be an accompanying Orisha that's over your head at that time. So there's always going to be an Orisha over your head that has an affinity for you at any given moment in your life, because they're able to assist with whatever you're going through. So you will learn your head Orisha during your Isefa, but that relationship is still not fully consecrated until you initiate. So you may find out that you're an Omo Oshun or Omo Shango, whatever. But and that is true when you get that Isefa, that is your head Orisha. But when you go to initiate, you may have been told, you're Omo Oshun, but when you go to initiate, it might be Yemaya that comes in and you initiate into the priesthood of Yemaya. I hope that makes sense. But you do find out your head Orisha during your Isefa, but again, the relationship is not consecrated until your full initiation, and that's when it's really cemented. This is who you were born with. So I hope that makes sense. So along with that Odu and some of the insight and guidance, you'll also receive what's called Ewo, which is Yoruba for taboos. Now, these are taboos that, again, they're meant to align you with the array of your destiny. They're meant to keep you from poverty and lack and negative health outcomes, and they're there to protect you. Now, these specific taboos, generally speaking, it kind of depends on who you go to. Some people say you keep these taboos for life. Other people say, they just look at it as a routine divination when you keep these taboos for the next month. But the general consensus from what I've seen is that these taboos are your taboos until you would initiate into Ifa, again, if that's your calling. So there may be certain things where you receive your Isefa and you're told, okay, don't eat peanuts and don't wear the color black. But then you go and you initiate into Ifa and you get your solidified taboos that you hold for your life. And you may just be told during that time, just don't wear black. And that's something that will stick with you for your entire life, to not wear black. But the peanuts, for example, you would just observe that taboo until you get your Itefa. I hope that makes sense. And let me know if it doesn't. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. But yeah, so you receive that insight. You'll also receive some taboos that you want to abide by until your initiation. And you're also going to receive a name that comes down from heaven. So when I introduce myself as Ifayemi, that is my identifier within this tradition, and that was a name that was given to me from heaven that was revealed during the Isefa. And with every ceremony, such as the Isefa, and with every initiation that you do, you will receive an additional name in Ifa. So when I go to Nigeria and initiate, I'll receive another name in addition to Ifayemi. And that also applies to if you initiate into an Orisha or any initiation that you do within the tradition is also going to come with a name. Now, the other thing that I mentioned is that you will receive your Ifa Ide and your Ileke. Now, what these things do, especially this Ide here, which goes on your left wrist and it never comes off, this is meant to protect you and ensure that you don't go before your time. So the day is a super, super important aspect of that divine protection that I spoke of earlier. And then you will also receive your first set of Ikin, which are the sacred palm nuts of Ifa, and they'll come in like a pod or some type of vessel. And so with these, this is, once you receive your Isefa, you can now start to go to Ifa yourself, the Ikin that you receive, and you can do very limited divinations with OB. So what that means is that you can make certain offerings to Ifa for blessings, for wealth, for a spouse, for whatever it is that you're needing in life, or just for Ire in general, good health. Whatever you need, you can start to personally build that relationship with Ifa and go to your Ikin and give offerings. And the OB comes into place because you'll throw OB to determine whether or not your offerings were accepted. So with OB, there's a spectrum of yeses or nos that you can get, and they vary in a strong no to a strong yes to a strong no, and different things in between. So you throw OB, you receive a sign that will tell you yes, Ifa accepted this, no, Ifa didn't accept this, yes, Ifa is willing to speak to you right now, or even if you have any questions like Ifa, should I take this job? Ifa, should I proceed with dating this person? You can also begin to go to your Ifa for those things, and you'll use OB to divine and get your answers to your questions. And OB divination, that's another video that I can make if you are interested. And I feel like I pray I'm making sense in this video, because I know this is so much information, especially if you are not familiar with this, but I'm trying to break it down, and I just pray that it's making sense. So please do let me know, if you have any questions or anything like that. So that's what the 3 days will look like and what's going to happen and what you receive. You also should receive an Eshu. So along with receiving Ifa and those Yakin in the vessel, you should also receive an Eshu, because you're going to appease Eshu first before going to Ifa or to any other Orisha that you receive, because Ifa is the messenger. Because Eshu is the messenger. So you have to go through Eshu to get your prayers delivered to all of the other Orisha. So now here is the third thing. Who should receive their hand of Ifa? So there's going to be two classes of people who should receive their hand of Ifa. So the first are those people who want to, just generally speaking, improve their life circumstances. And this may be something that they just desire to do, or it could be something that is prescribed to them through divination. You may be told, okay, you need to receive this hand of Ifa to ensure prosperity and blessings in your life. So that's going to be the first group of people. The second group of people, which is what I would fall into, are the people who are called to initiate into the tradition, and the Shefa is the precursor, it's a requirement to going through with your Isefa. So traditionally in Yoruba culture though, you would receive what's called an Esentaye within your first week to 2 weeks of birth. And this is the same ceremony as the Isefa, but you're getting it done as a newborn, so your parents know how to best guide you throughout your upbringing, so you can be in alignment with all of your Ire and your destiny. But of course, pretty much, most of us in the diaspora, unless you're an anomaly in your upbringing, you didn't have the privilege of knowing about your parents didn't have the privilege of knowing about Esentaye. My bad, y'all, my mouth is dry and I'm trying to talk so fast. But so most of our parents and families did not have the privilege of knowing about Esentaye. So for most of us, Isefa is going to be our first point of entry into this tradition. And I'll talk about the Esentaye in my vocabulary video. Other thing to note is going to be the cost of the Isefa is generally around $1,200. That's a general ballpark. And so last thing that I want to go over is what happens post Isefa. So of course, for one, if you're called to initiate, that would be the next step for you after Isefa at some point. But the big thing is learning to observe those Oshe Ifa days. Now, Oshe Ifa is a day on the traditional Yoruba calendar, which is 4 days, where you would venerate and appease your Ifa that you've received. And you should learn how to do all of that so that you can strengthen your relationship to Ifa and really develop that sense of spiritual intimacy with yourself and your Ori. Now for myself personally, I do all of my Ifa and Orisha veneration on Mondays. That's a very diasporic way of doing it. And that's just because I live here in America and I live in a major city here in this country. And the lifestyle that I live, it just doesn't align with the traditional Yoruba lifestyle for me to be able to observe it every 4 days like I would like to. So I do everything once a week personally. And you can also do that too if that's what works for your lifestyle. But traditionally, you'll want to do it every 4 days on Oshe Ifa, and the Babalawo that gave you your hand of Ifa will be the one to detail for you what that looks like and what you're supposed to do. But I can also, if you're interested, make another video where I go over what that looks like for me. So it's almost been half an hour. I feel like I didn't even say everything I wanted to say, but I hope I said enough to where it made sense. I hope that you enjoyed this video if you watched it, and please continue to look out for more. All right.